Today we're going to show you the effects of what happens when you do not prune your planting stock prior to installing your tree tubes. Here we have our TubeX combi tubes, 4 foot in height, that have been installed on a persimmon, a crabapple, and a dogwood for a little over 2 years. And we're going to show you what happens with each species that was not pruned prior to the tree and tube installation. Okay, here we have our persimmon that's been growing for a little over 2 years. It was not pruned prior to installation of the tree tube. So we're going to show you some common effects, side effects, and potential future problems when you do not prune your planting stock when installing it. So you can see here that this tree has created 2 separate branches here in the center of the stem. This is going to create long-term problems where you're going to have a weak stem spot here where this creates a crotch, and it's been forced together and crunched together in this tube. So essentially what you want to do is you want to take your pruning shears and you just want to prune off this smaller stem. And then you've got some other smaller limbs that are down below, and then you can just keep coming up the stem, pruning off each little larger growth to the side until you have one single stem on the tree. Now you've got another one right here at the top. We're going to remove that. And now you essentially have one single stem on your tree. This is going to allow the tree to provide growth in height instead of concentrating on growth, trying to grow laterally. Now it's going to grow vertically. It's also going to open up some access within the tube for the tree, give it some more growing room within the tree instead of being crammed in with all the branches and leaves. It's also going to allow for greater CO2 transfer within the tube. When you have all these stems and excess leaves inside the tube, it really eats up a lot of your space inside the tube. So this also allows for greater CO2 transfer within the tube. So a lot of benefits to pruning. You can see in the next one, the crabapple, it's incredibly bushy, not the form that you're going to want to see. So it makes it a lot easier. You can just take your tube, slide it right back over. Your pre-threaded ties go right back over the stake. Zip them up. Your tree is ready to grow. Okay, here we have our crabapple, which you're going to find pretty obvious. This tree is not an optimum growing situation, even though the tree tube has been placed on it. Lack of pruning when this planting stock was planted and the tree tube was installed has caused it to be extremely bushy, taking up a lot of space, and going to potentially cause some problems for this tree down the road. So you're going to see when we lift this off, there's going to be an incredible amount of growth and bushiness to this crabapple. You can see that the crabapple has essentially taken on the shape of the tree tube. Excessive amount of branching in here. A lot of them are even growing on all different directions, and we're going to do some close-ups of that, and so you can really see what's going on with this. But really, with this pruning, you're essentially just going to start at the bottom, and you're just going to start removing all your limbs all the way up to the top to provide it to a single stem, and then this crabapple will be allowed to, instead of wasting all its energy trying to grow these limbs and try to grow these leaves, which aren't going to go anywhere because you're in the tree shelter, it's going to allow this tree to project itself more vertically at a quicker pace. So pruning is really necessary. You can see the excess amount of time that it takes to come back and remove these tubes and prune all this excessive branching up, versus when you get the stock initially, it's going to be less time in pruning at the beginning of the tree's life than at this stage where you've got all this excessive pruning. This is going to take a while to prune all this up. Okay, here we have our final tree species for the day. This is a dogwood. Once again, no pruning at planting time or at the time of tree tube installation. Now you can see here, this tree has actually begun to cross into itself. It's growing against itself. You can hardly even pull it apart, but it's created two main growing stems, and down here towards the bottom, that's going to create some long-term problems for this tree, being especially right towards the bottom. It doesn't have a chance to establish a solid trunk. It's going to be split very close to the ground, which is going to create problems in high wind situations. It could split right at the base of the tree, and dogwoods don't do well with just minor damage at all. You can imagine what this tree would do if half of it split off in the middle of a storm. Pretty much would be goner. So easily enough, we come down, we prune this half of the tree off, and then you just start working your way up the stem fairly quickly. You got one last little crotch here. We're going to remove that as well. Like we said, we want to try to bring this as close to a single stem as possible. This is much easier when the planting stock is not been planted for a couple years. You obviously will be able to establish a main stem of the tree. Here, sometimes in this type of pruning, you have to make judgment calls and pick which stem is going to become the dominant main trunk of the tree. So we have pruned this essentially to a one stem tree. Pretty simple. Take your 2X combi tube here, slide it right back down over your tree. Make sure your zip ties go back over your stake. And you zip it up. And this tree is solid, it's safe, and the growing potential now has essentially been unlocked by pruning. So pruning is very essential in the initial planting stages of your projects. Make sure to take that little bit of extra time. It takes less than 30 seconds usually on a very small planting stock to prune it up before you plant it. Very small amount of time that will save you a lot of time down the road.